For Stranger Things Season 5, there are so many unanswered questions, and because of that, I'm going to make a video today answering a ton of unanswered questions. So what I'm doing is I'm going on Reddit. We all love Reddit, at least I do. And there's this thread called, what are the biggest plot holes or plot points you want resolved in Season 5? And I'm just gonna go through as many as I can and just give you my thoughts and opinions on them. And I'll link the Reddit thread down below so you can follow along or read for yourself. And we're just gonna go through and knock out a bunch of different questions and concerns and things that people want answered in Season 5. So before I get into it, guys, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and join my Discord down below where we talk about Stranger Things and other TV shows every single day. And in 1 month from today, pretty much, it is May 1st, 1 month from today, pretty much at the end of the month, Netflix Tudum is going to be here, and we're going to get our first teaser for Stranger Things Season 5, so that's exciting. Mark your calendars. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into this video. So the first question that caught my attention was, is the atmosphere in the Upside Down really toxic? In Season 1 and Season 2, they really hammered this home, and by Season 4, they were running marathons in the Upside Down with no issues. So they bring up a really good point, because in Season 1, we see Hopper and Joyce go in with like hazmat suits, and everyone's covering their mouths, and in Season 2, same thing. And then in Season 4, they're just going in, no mask or anything, bandanas, nothing. They're just going in and they're breathing it just fine. So I really do think this has already been answered, because they were running in it in Season 4 with no problem. I think they just assumed in Season 1 that we don't know what this is. We have no idea. There's weird particles floating around the air. We don't know if this is bad for us. So we're just gonna take extra precaution and not breathe it in. I think that was the first, because that's what the Hawkins lab people were doing. They had their suits and everything. So I think everyone just assumed that this air was toxic. We don't want to go near it. But the farther along they went into it, it eventually was revealed that it's not actually toxic and they could just walk in with no protection whatsoever. This person wrote down several questions. I'm going to try to answer as many as I can, but honestly, I don't know if I do know the answers for sure. They say, what is the egg from Season 1? I think that's just a demogorgon egg, but I'm not for sure. Like, I have no idea, so I would like to get a for sure answer on that. And then they say, how did Henry get from Dimension X to the Upside Down? Or how did Dimension X get to look like Upside Down Hawkins? So Dimension X and the Upside Down, to my knowledge, are two separate places, and Henry went to Dimension X when he was like a small child, before he met Brenner. So he was in Dimension X before he was in the Upside Down. So they're not the same place, to my knowledge, and he didn't go from Dimension X to the Upside Down. He went from Dimension X to the real world to the Upside Down, if that makes any sense. And then they say, oh, and why does Season 1 Demogorgon have telekinesis? I have no idea. I don't know why it could open a door like that. I would assume it's because it was a young Vecna, but then again, why would I just assume that with no problem? Like, I have zero clue. So it was either Demogorgons have that ability, it was Vecna, or they're never going to address it. I highly doubt we get an answer to that. How come Season 2 Powered Girl had different powers to the other children? So they're referring to Callie. They're saying, why did Callie have different powers to the other children? Because all the other children had normal telekinesis and were practicing on the same, like the Plinko board or whatever. Maybe not Plinko, I don't know, but the board where it's like going down and they're controlling it to fall into the right spot. So they all had the same powers in the lab and everything, but Callie had different powers. She was putting out illusions. Honestly, I don't have a good answer for this. Literally no answer whatsoever. It might be a reason why she was written off. I don't know. Hopefully she comes back in Season 5, and I don't think we'll ever get an answer to that, though, even if she does come back to Season 5. I think that we just have to assume that she got different powers. Maybe she was a part of a different experiment, an earlier experiment, whatever. Maybe like Eleven's group all had telekinesis and there was another group somewhere else with illusion powers. You know, who knows? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't think this is gonna be answered, but that's an unanswered question going into Season 5 that I don't think we're gonna get an answer to. This next question I don't have an answer to, but I wanna read it anyways because I feel like I want an answer, but I also feel like we're not gonna get an answer to it. The question is, how did the Russians capture a piece of the Mind Flayer and the Demogorgon? Is the implication that they brought them from Hawkins to Russia, or is there a second device in Russia? And what was that the same Demogorgon 11 dematerialized along with herself in the season 1 finale? Like I said, I have no idea. I don't have an answer to this, obviously. But yeah, like how did the Russians get all that stuff? How did they get all the Demogorgons? I guess it's because they had the device. They probably had another station somewhere else doing the same thing, not just at the mall, would be like my only guess. And I would love to see an answer to this because the Russians knew more about that side of the world, the Upside Down, than anyone else in the world, you know, besides Hopper, you know, and all the group, the crew, right? So yeah, how did the Russians even start to learn about the Upside Down, and then how did they capture Demogorgons and all this other stuff from the Upside Down and study it? Like, how do they even get to that point? I would love to see answers in season 5 about that, but like I said, I don't think the Russians are even going to be involved anymore, which is, you know, good and bad, because I feel like if they were still involved, it would get a little bit dragged on, but also, I don't know, man. I really want an answer to that question. It's really interesting. Okay, I just found like one person write down like 15 questions, so we're just gonna go through them and see if I know any of the answers. And if I don't, I'm just gonna give you my best guess or tell you I don't know the answer. The first question, how did Dart just happen to end up in Dustin's trash can? Well, I mean, yeah, that's never gonna get answered, but I think the logic is that Will coughed up Dart into the sink, and then Dart just climbed his way through the city and ended up in Dustin's trash can somehow, some way. Obviously, that's never getting explained ever, and we'll never get an answer. But yeah, so that, I guess it's just a coincidence. Why are Vecna and Will so similar, and why did Vecna single out Will as a target? Most probably because they have like parallel storylines, and Will's probably gonna have powers, and it's gonna be this whole dynamic battle. You know, we saw Joyce go to Vecna's father, Victor Creel, and he said, wait, did Joyce go to him or no? No, Joyce didn't go to him. I'm tripping. Robin and Nancy went to him, and they both said when they were talking about their children now, Joyce called Will a sensitive kid, Victor called his kid a sensitive kid, and there's all these different parallels, touching the neck, doing all this. And so I think it's just like, they have parallel storylines. It was purposely written that way by the Duffers because something's gonna happen with Will in season 5 that's gonna make sense why they're so similar, and I think that's gonna be that Will has powers. I don't know that. That's my best guess though. How did Brenner survive the Demogorgon attack? I just think the Demogorgon didn't have enough time to rip Brenner to shreds, and he probably just did a little bit of damage. I don't think it's too much digging into that. I don't think Brenner has powers. I think the most likely answer is that Brenner just, the Demogorgon didn't have enough time to rip Brenner to shreds or kill him or anything. So that's my best guess. I don't know though. What's the significance of the Hawkins library? I do not know at all, and we need to see an answer to this in season 5 because Will was in there in season 1, like that's where he was stuck in the library, and like everything, the cracks met at the library, like it's just the cracks at the end of season 4 when the Hawkins got sawed in half by the Upside Down or whatever, like the 4 cracks met at Hawkins library. There has to be, we got to get something, Duffers, come on, we got to get at least a little bit of a hint of why that is the case. That is very, very, very intriguing to me, and I have zero clue. That's an unanswered question in season 5 that we need an answer to. Absolutely, we need an answer to. Why was Nancy's house in the Upside Down stuck on the day Will went missing? So that wasn't just Nancy's house that got stuck in the Upside Down on the day Will went missing. It's the entire Upside Down is stuck on the day Will went missing. So I don't know. Just to clear that up, if you didn't know that, I think when I first watched it, I got that confused a little bit too, so that makes sense why you had that question. But yeah, it's the entire Upside Down that's stuck on the date that Will went missing. Why did Vecna choose Nancy to share his plans? I think this is because Nancy's family is going to be a focal point of attention in season 5. I don't know if it's because Nancy's going to get chosen. I don't think it's because of that. I think it's because Nancy's baby sister is going to get chosen, Holly Wheeler, or her mother. And both of those characters, her mother and her baby sister, are going to be key pieces in one episode. I think that's why Nancy was chosen to have her, Vecna's plan shared with her, because her family is going to be in danger in season 5. I think that's the reason, but I don't know. Is Max ever going to wake up? I would say I would be extremely surprised if Max Mayfield is not awake at some point in season 5, even if it's like a flashback of 2 years down the road or whatever in the final episode. I think Max is going to be out of that hospital bed and awake at some point in the season. I don't know, but man, I would have a hard time seeing that not happening. This is the question we're all waiting for, and I think is going to get answered in some way in season 5, and it's how did Will survive in the Upside Down for that long? And yeah, I mean, we don't know. He was literally a week in the Upside Down with vines from the Upside Down in his, like, down his freaking throat. A vine from the Upside Down down his throat and just taking over his body. And he was there for a week. So maybe the vine, I don't know. I don't know how he survived that. It has to be because he has powers now, but I don't know. It's just one of those questions that we need an answer to. Not necessarily a plot hole, but I want to see a return of Lonnie Byers in season 5 and how he affects the whole Byers family. I actually agree with this. I know, like, oh, well, Relay, obviously you're gonna agree with that. You want Callie to return, you want Eddie to return, you want Billy to return, of course you want Lonnie to return. But I want Lonnie to return for a specific reason. I want Lonnie Byers to return in the visions that Will could potentially have in his unveiling of his powers scene, where, you know, his powers get uncovered and released and revealed because he faces the trauma that he once had in his childhood, sort of how 11 did in season 4 when she went in the tank and everything and went through all of her trauma, and her powers are now stronger than ever because she realized what she did and she understands her past now and all this stuff. If Will has a scene like that where he goes through his past and he understands everything and it ends up showing him the light or whatever, and he somehow gets powers that way, I want those scenes to involve Lonnie Byers, because Lonnie Byers was clearly an abusive husband and dad, at least to an extent, you know? So yeah, I want to see that for sure. I think that'd be a cool storyline to tell from the Duffers' point of view. Like, I think that would be freaking awesome, and I would love to see it. I would just love to see Lonnie Byers and Will Byers in a flashback or like a revealing scene, you know, going back and visiting past trauma. Like, what if Lonnie brought Will to Hawkins Lab? Remember that theory I had when, like, oh, how does Will have powers? Well, Lonnie brought him to Hawkins Lab when he was younger for money because they were paying people, and Will was there for a little bit, and that's why Jonathan went to Indianapolis and immediately checked Lonnie's trunk of his car, because Lonnie took Will in the trunk of his car to Hawkins Lab. Like, that was a crazy theory, but shit like that could be revealed in scenes like that. Obviously, I don't think that's true, but you know, I feel like that's why we need to see Lonnie Byers return. How did 11 know Will in season 1 when she was looking at the picture? I'm assuming this person is asking about that. When 11 in season 1 was in Mike's house and looked at the picture of Will and said, I recognize him. I think it's because 11 was like trained to find the demogorgon when she was like piggybacking, I guess, back then. And when she was doing that, I would assume it's because that's when she saw Will, when she was doing all that searching, and Barb and everything. So maybe not Barb, but that's why she saw Will, I would assume. I don't know. There are a ton more questions than this, and I'll probably make another video like months down the road, the same title and everything, and just go through a whole different bunch of other questions. I want you guys to comment questions down below that I didn't answer or didn't talk about that you want answered in the comments, and what you thought about this video, and if you disagree or agree with any of my opinions. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop like, subscribe, turn on notifications, join my Discord, and most importantly, have a great rest of your day. And like I said, we're a month away from Tudum. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be thrilling. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm going to milk the absolute shit out of it, and I'm going to make as many videos as I can after that one teaser. I might just make a whole entire live stream going frame by frame, people. I might just put the damn thing in my editor and go frame by frame. Just tap the little arrow, frame by frame, and dissect each and every frame for you. Who knows? Because we haven't had any teasers in 3 effing years. So once we get one, you best believe this guy will be milking it. So that's going to be exciting. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.